This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. We are living in unique times. This election cycle is really unlike any other since maybe the late 60s. With Nixon's administration and the racial unrest that we witnessed then. Right now, there is a distinction of a case being presented by the two different parties. On one hand, you have a vision of hope and progress for the future with the Democrats. And on the other, doom and gloom and a dystopian view of America. And a view, for instance, Students for Trump, some group, they tweeted this particular photo with the caption, "President real Donald Trump tours what Biden will do to America." Now, the mental gymnastics that you have to do, that you have to engage in to think that is logical in any way, that Donald Trump, who has been at the helm of the nation in the executive branch as president for over 3 years, going on 4 years, he's touring his America. He's touring the fruits of his labor. But that's Biden. Biden's going to do that to America. Donald Trump has done that to America. Donald Trump, we witnessed him gassing peaceful protesters steps away from the White House. But this is going to be Biden's America. This is what Biden will do to America, even though it's been done to America under Donald Trump. It is nonsense. I'm going to talk a little bit about the protests and the violence that occurred in both Kenosha, Wisconsin, and also Portland, Oregon. Kenosha, obviously, the Rittenhouse kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, shot and killed 2 people, 2 protesters. And in Portland, a MAGA supporter, a Patriot Prayer, white separatist group. One of their supporters was shot and killed. So before we get into it, let me just say this. We shouldn't be bringing guns to protests. Nobody should. Stop it. You're not Rambo. It accomplishes nothing but mayhem and devastation. It's bad for the country. And that goes for liberals who think they're making a difference by killing other people, and also the militia idiots armed with their AR-15s. You're not special forces. You're not special at all. Having said that, Donald Trump is doing a grave disservice to the United States of America by condemning only the violence that is afflicted upon people who support him and absolutely ignoring the other side. In fact, not just ignoring the other side, he says with his mouth, "Of course I want the cops to deal with it, but," and it's the but that you have to listen to. Because that's where the truth is spoken. Let's start with this from August 29th.
Can I follow up, sir, with one thing on that? I think yesterday you did comment on the killing of Jacob Blake. You said you didn't like how it looked. I wondered if you could comment about the other shooting that took place in that community.
Yeah, I see.
You mentioned the National Guard going in, law enforcement, but this was a young man, 17-year-old, who's facing murder charges for having shot 2 people.
Yeah.
There's some folks who've said conservatives are holding up this young man as, having done so within his rights to sort of self-protect. And I'm wondering if you've read much about this case, if you have concerns about ordinary residents with guns in situations like this and what dangers that might present.
Well, that's under investigation right now, and they'll be reporting back to me over the next 24 hours, 48 hours maybe max, and we'll have a comment about it. But that is right now we're looking at it very, very carefully. What we are doing with it's a great state, Wisconsin, great state, and they should not have to put up with what they went through. And so the National Guard has done a fantastic job.
He's asked a question about ordinary citizens packing guns into this area. This Kyle Rittenhouse character came in from out of state, came in from out of the city, itching for a fight, it seems. Donald Trump has asked the question directly about ordinary citizens coming in armed, packing heat. And the answer he gives is about the National Guard. He punted on the question. He dodged it. Not even adroitly. It was a clumsy attempt. He said 24 to 48 hours, I'll have an answer for you. It's under investigation. It's still under investigation, but apparently he was surprised by the question and his team didn't have him briefed sufficiently to answer. So here we are, 48 hours later. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, please.
I have a question on coronavirus, but first, you were just criticizing Joe Biden, saying he didn't mention the far left or Antifa during his speech today. You said you wanted to talk about left-wing political violence.
Yeah.
But I noticed you did not mention that your supporters were also in Portland this weekend, firing paintball guns at people, some form of pepper spray. So do you want to also take this chance to condemn what your supporters did?
Well, I understand they had large numbers of people that were supporters, but that was a peaceful protest. And paint is not, and paint is a defensive mechanism. Paint is not bullets. Your supporters, and they are your supporters indeed, shot a young gentleman who, and killed him, not with paint, but with a bullet. And I think it's disgraceful. These people, they protested peacefully. They went in very peacefully. And I'll tell you what they're protesting. They're protesting when they turn on television or read whatever they may be reading, and they see a city like Chicago where 78 people were shot and 13 died, or a city like New York where the crime rate has gone through the roof, or a city like Portland where the entire city is ablaze all the time, and a mayor says, we don't want any help from the federal government. When these people turn that on and they see that, they say, this is not our country. This is not our country. That was a peaceful protest, totally.
But it was a supporter of yours,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
President.
please. Yeah, go ahead, please.
It was a supporter of yours, Mr. President.
Go ahead, please.
Are you going to condemn the action? It was a supporter of yours, Mr. President, who killed someone that is accused of killing two people. It's a supporter of yours.
Are you going to condemn the actions of vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse?
But we're looking at all of it. That was an interesting situation. You saw the same tape as I saw. And he was trying to get away from them, I guess, it looks like. And he fell. And then they very violently attacked him. And it was something that we're looking at right now, and it's under investigation. But I guess he was in very big trouble. He would have been. He probably would have been killed. But it's under investigation.
So when one of his supporters gets killed, tragically killed, it's a disgraceful thing. But the kid with an illegal AR-15 traveling out of town, out of state to go commit this kind of mayhem, it's not disgraceful or disgusting. It's very interesting. Very interesting. He makes excuses for, at the very least he's making excuses for, but absolutely he's defending it. He's explaining away what happened. Making the legal argument for the kid, as his attorneys are now doing, Rudy Giuliani's former attorneys, who defended him against his illegal actions in Ukraine. But Donald Trump, there's a clear dichotomy that's drawn here of what he thinks about. It doesn't matter what you do, what crimes you commit, what violence and mayhem that are committed at the hands of his support. It doesn't matter. As long as you're a fan of him, he will defend you forever. Rather than both things can be true at the same time. Both things can be bad. He continued, same day, different interview.
But do you want your supporters to confront the
No.
left-wing protesters,
No.
or do you want to leave it to law
No, I don't want them.
enforcement?
I want to leave it to law enforcement. But my supporters are wonderful, hardworking, tremendous people.
There it is. No, I want to leave it to law enforcement. But I want to leave it to law enforcement, but that is the point. That is what to listen to. And then he goes on to talk about his supporters being country-loving, hard-working people, as though Democrats or people who are protesting to make their country a better place are not. This is what he thinks. He is so polarized. It is so us versus them, tribalistic in the way he thinks, that he can't logically separate. Anything someone who says he's a good guy does is A-okay. Even if it's murder, even if it's killing. We'll let the clip continue.
My supporters are wonderful, hardworking, tremendous people. And they turn on their television set and they look at a Portland or they look at a Kenosha before I got involved and stopped it. Or they look at Chicago, where 78 people were shot last weekend and numerous people died. Or they look at New York, where violence is up by 150%. It's up by a number that nobody, and people are leaving. They're looking at all of this and they can't believe it. They can't believe it, whether it's my supporter or not.
But you don't want them showing up
No,
to
I
try
don't.
to...
Well, it's a peaceful protest. I mean, they were protesting. They weren't. You know, it's amazing. They want to protest, and they get criticized. The other people run through the streets, burn down storefronts, hurt people, beat people, and kill people, kick people in the face. That would have happened to Rand Paul, by the way, and his wife, except that you had 2 and then ultimately 4 very good policemen who took a big beating. They took a big beating. And they really saved Rand Paul. In fact, we're going to bring him into the White House and give him...
And then he rambles on about Rand Paul. This is not presidential behavior. This is not unifying behavior. This is the promotion of conspiracy theories and us versus them. This is precursors to very bad authoritarian governing taking hold in America. An active attempt to divide our country at the hands of the President of the United States of America. Anyway, listen, I've been gone a few days. Doing this for a living is sometimes more than I can bear. It is heartbreaking watching this kind of nonsense take place. A country that I proudly served in the United States Marine Corps. And watching it on the verge of collapse. It's not easy. Sometimes I need a few days off. And I took them. Anyway, the fight continues. The battle rages on. And we must stay engaged. If you need a mental health break, take it. Rest up, but steel yourself for what is to come. I say it all the time, and it gets no less true, that we are in the fight for our lives. You need to vote for Joe Biden as if your life does depend on it, because indeed it does. Get your neighbors, get your friends, get your family. Find someone who did not vote in 2016 and convince them to vote this election. You can call me, 714-576-4054. Email me daily at dollemore.com. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate you engaging with my content. I'd love to have you connect with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, listen to my podcast. The community that's built up around both this show on YouTube and my podcast is something that I will never take for granted. It's very, very meaningful. All of your words of support and encouragement are also equally spirit buoying. And I appreciate y'all. Anyway, I'll see you next time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be genuine. Take care of one another.